Welcome back to the fabulous fall adventure with our friends at the farm. They are super hungry, maybe a little bit too hungry, and want some treats from the sweet section at the market. What are we making for them today? A turkey treat basket! Hi guys! In today's thankful video, we are going to be making a turkey Thanksgiving basket filled with a selection of fantastic fall treats. There's s'mores, chocolate covered Oreos, caramel chocolate apples that wobble and gobble, and a pumpkin spice hot cocoa bomb. It makes such a thoughtful gift to give thanks to all of your family and friends, so remind them to save room for after Thanksgiving dinner, and be sure to keep on watching. We are going to get started with these s'mores that are so simple and delicious to make that everyone will want more of them. First, I melted some Merkin's milk chocolate wafers and mixed in a combination of Chefmaster candy coloring in orange and yellow to make an orangey brown color that resembles a turkey's fur and matches all of our vibrant Thanksgiving treats. The trick is to gradually add more until you reach your desired shape. I also recommend to use a deep and shallow bowl to dip your graham crackers and to scoop it out with a dipping fork. It makes the process so easy to achieve a nice smooth dip. Just tap off the excess chocolate and place it on a sheet of parchment paper to dry. All I'm doing is dropping it in and pushing to the bottom to coat the entire graham cracker sheet, then dig it out of the chocolate, simple as that. I love using this tool to dip Oreos and Nilla wafers as well, and I will be sure to link it down in the description box below if you would like to try it on any of your treats. Now to add our marshmallows, I'm taking a rolling pin as well as 2 small sheets of parchment paper, a heat source, and a pair of scissors for the best result since the marshmallow is a stubborn, irregular shape. You want to cut the edges off of both sides to make the ends flat with the sticky part exposed, and sandwich the marshmallow between 2 sheets of parchment paper to evenly roll it out, just enough to flatten the surface so it's ready for the graham cracker and ensures a neat presentation rather than just throwing it on there. After your marshmallow is rolled, I have a heat gun as my heat source, but a clean hair dryer works best if you have that. The heat gun isn't really worth it and shuts off from time to time from overheating. However, you want to avoid the microwave. It blows up in there and tends to ruin the shape. Just remember, if you choose the hair dryer, keep it away from your chocolate covered grahams or they will start to melt. The idea is to evenly apply the heat to both sides and peel off the top sheet of parchment, centering one of the grahams over the marshmallow and doing the same when flipping it over to the other side. These were so sticky and gooey, but that's okay. Just be gentle pressing the grahams on so that they don't break. And we have our superb s'mores as the perfect dessert. Our friend Sam the Scarecrow is hungry, but before he digs in, I'm adding on an orange drizzle with a plastic squeeze bottle by drizzling on a diagonal and sprinkling on this festive fall mix of nonpareils. You can also use a plastic bag to drizzle with a tiny corner snipped off instead of the squeeze bottle if you prefer. Once the s'mores have set, I topped it off with these super cute turkey sugar decorations with a small amount of melted chocolate as an enjoyable Thanksgiving treat. Another fun idea for your Thanksgiving basket are these pumpkin spice hot cocoa bombs. My breakable pumpkin mold is from my local cake supply store, but I will link a few alternative options in the description box for you. I'm filling in the stem part with that same color of orangey brown melted chocolate and a small brush, going over it with a few layers to ensure that the chocolate isn't too sheer. With small circles like this, just dab a dot and add as you need. I know that molds can be tricky sometimes, so I'm going to show you a trick later on when we make the Oreos. As for the shell of the pumpkin, I'm pouring in a few spoonfuls of orange chocolate and brushing it around using dabbing strokes to coat the entire mold as you would for a sphere hot cocoa bomb. I didn't get any 3-part or silicone pumpkin molds this season, which I definitely should have, but a great method for a one-piece acrylic mold like this one is to pick up the mold and rotate it around, quickly getting to that pool of chocolate that's in the middle before it sets, and pour the remaining back into the cup. No worries if it's a little messy. I'm scraping the top with a small icing scraper. You can also use a spatula or card. My other tips and tricks are to bring the chocolate high enough, even slightly above the edges, to prevent any cracks. If you have the 3-part mold, that's even better because you know exactly how much to fill for consistent results. Also, the chocolate should be a looser consistency when rotating and spilling the mold. To set this first layer, I'm popping it in the fridge for 10 minutes and brushing the second layer on top to reinforce everything for a thick enough shell. It's a lot easier to do this once you have the base layer down and ready to brush over it. Let the second layer chill for another 10 minutes and gently press to remove from the mold. Don't worry about the edges, we will clean those up when assembling the hot cocoa bomb. As for the pumpkin spice, I found the Good & Gather hot cocoa mix from Target, or another option is the Swiss Miss. To warm the edges, I'm taking a plate and microwaving that for about a minute and swirling the bomb around for a few seconds, then adding with the cocoa mix and mini marshmallows. To complete the bomb, swirl the other half on the plate and line up the seams. Now this hot cocoa bomb will sweeten up your Thanksgiving meal. Next, I'm showing how you can achieve these chocolate-covered Oreo turkeys with some tips on filling detailed chocolate molds with several colors. Usually, I color my Merkin's chocolate melts with candy coloring, but it's fun to do the molding with pre-made colors, except I didn't have black melts, so I mixed my dark chocolate melts with black Chefmaster. A helpful tool is this little stand I picked up from Dollar Tree to hold your mold when filling in all the details and feathers. My favorite technique for precise application is to pick up a small amount of chocolate on a toothpick and drag it around to fill in the small areas. It works so much better than a squeeze bottle or piping bag, which dries up really fast at the tip. And forget about using a brush when the tip doesn't stay pointy. It goes everywhere and splatters the chocolate. But the toothpick puts the chocolate exactly where you want it to go, just like magic. Once you are done filling in the first row, turn it over and give it a check. The toothpick leaves the lines very neat and clean. After the red is good to go, I'm filling the second and third row of feathers in with the orange and yellow using the same method. I mentioned before that the feathers are the pre-made colors of chocolate melts from the store. That way you could save money and time on mixing several candy colors. However, when you are dipping any treats, I recommend not taking that shortcut and mixing your own colors for a much smoother result. The feathers are looking so bright and colorful. Now for the pilgrim hat, I'm outlining the edges as a guide and filling it in with the black chocolate. Don't forget to fill in the sides with the black too. That way, nothing in this section is left blank. It's a bit hard to see on camera that the wattle and beak are very tiny. So right now, I'm taking my red to do the wattle. Since the beak is so small, I made my own and edit it on later after molding the Oreos. You can choose to do the beak the way I did, or if you prefer, with the orange chocolate. It is time to grab your Oreos and milk chocolate. I mixed the orange and yellow Chefmaster again to create that orangey brown shade. And it is key to fill your mold with generous spoonfuls of chocolate, at least halfway or a little more. The idea is for the extra chocolate to spill over the top of the Oreo after you sink it in. Otherwise, it means there's not enough chocolate before adding the Oreo in, and there will be cracks around the Oreo part with the cookie peeking through. When the Oreo is pressed down, spread over the back with more chocolate and tap the mold to settle it out. These are going to need 15 minutes in the fridge or until completely set. And for a successful removal, be sure to have your gloves on to prevent any smudging. I press a little at a time with light pressure to ease the Oreos out. Let's bring them to life with googly eye sugar decorations. I place a dot of melted chocolate on with a toothpick to adhere the eyes. And don't forget about the beaks. I cut the orange part of these sour strip candies from Dollar Tree into little triangles and apply a dot of corn syrup on top. When doing this, it helps to pick up the beaks with a sticky toothpick. All we need is to make them some friends. Last but not least, for our terrific turkey apples, I'm prepping my green apples by cleaning them in very hot water that is mixed with 1 tablespoon of white vinegar and turning them around for 10 seconds to remove the wax in order for the caramel to stick to the skin, and also submerging them underneath the water. Once they are clean, I'm giving them a good dry with a towel, being especially thorough around the stem to remove any water that may be hiding in there. And when they are dry, you can twist off the stem. These stems are out of the way, and to insert our wooden candy apple sticks, I'm piercing into the center of the core with a mallet. Sometimes the juice may escape after inserting them, so I like to give them another wipe around the top. The apple prep is all done, and the fun part is making the caramel. It's so convenient that this recipe is made with the caramel bits, so you don't need to unwrap them, and it's all accomplished in the microwave. It is important to heat your caramel in a deep measuring cup. Mine is 8 cups to ensure it doesn't overflow, and to the measuring cup, I'm pouring in 3 11-ounce bags of Kraft Caramel bits, 4.5 tablespoons of coffee creamer of your choice. Mine is the Starbucks Caramel Macchiato for a little extra kick. Also going in is 3 tablespoons of water and 30 grams of melted butter. All you need to do is microwave the caramel for 2 minutes. You don't have to worry about it burning like you would on the stove. Just after those 2 minutes, give the caramel a stir. After stirring, we are microwaving for another 2 minutes and continuing to heat in 1-minute intervals until it is at the right temperature. Looks can be deceiving with this caramel, which is why I don't eyeball this. The caramel can appear smooth and beautiful and still not be ready yet. We are aiming for the range of 240 to 245 degrees. If the temperature is too low, the caramel won't set properly and tends to slide off the apples. So if it's not there yet, pop it back in for a minute until it reaches that temperature. The consistency will be slightly on the thicker side when it's ready for the apples. Now let's get dipping. I angle the measuring cup and swirl the apple around until completely coated, and to prevent air bubbles, I let the caramel drip off on its own and do its thing, then wipe the bottom with a spatula instead of shaking them around too much. I love how shiny and rich the color of the Kraft Caramel comes out and makes a smooth canvas to double dip in a layer of milk chocolate. The caramel apples have set on the parchment paper, and the essentials on your checklist for a successful chocolate dip is that the melt should be no higher than 84 degrees, or you will get a dimpled appearance on the surface called elephant skin, and the consistency should be very fluid and thinned out with your method of choice, such as Paramount crystals, oil, or easy thins. Otherwise, the dip could look thick and clumpy. A deep dipping container is your best friend for this, like my noodle bowl here. I'm so excited to transform the apples and dress them up with their feathers. To create them, I have green, red, orange, and gold shimmer fondant to press into this super cool feather mold. Fondant tends to stick onto any surface, so I recommend putting some cornstarch into the mold and rolling a piece of fondant into a ball, then shaping into a log and press it in to mold the feathers. I pressed on the front and back to fully form the impression and finish by trimming the scraps off with a knife, also getting rid of the bottom stem. It isn't too stable for attaching onto the apple. After dusting off that cornstarch, we are giving these feathers some sparkle with an edible gold luster dust. I love the combination of the full color scheme from the feathers with the gold shimmer. You can never have too much luster dust. It is best to let the fondant dry overnight, or it may be too soft when attaching to the apples. My favorite part of putting this together is to use a nutter butter for the turkey and to pair it with googly eye sugar decorations and fondant pieces for the wattle and beak. I made the wattle by cutting out a red fondant circle with a decorating tip and pinching in on one of the ends. To build Mr. Turkey, I'm sticking everything on with a new tone shade of chocolate to best match the nutter butter, and always missing is his feathers. When attaching the nutter butter to the apple, it helps for the chocolate to be on the thicker side and hold in place for about 10 seconds before letting go, and doing the same technique for all of his feathers. A unique way to let this memorable gift stand out is to DIY your own turkey basket by painting a tall metal bucket with a metallic paint. This one is especially for metal and wood, and glue on adorable googly eyes, felt accents for the wattle and beak, and of course a rainbow of feathers. To hold all the treats, fill the bottom of the bucket with plastic bags and top with colorful crinkle paper. I hope this gift idea brings some joy to you and your families. Wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I'm so thankful for all of you. It's Christina here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see ya in the next video.